As a kid, my imagination would run wild, dreaming of sailing the seven seas, spying a great big chest, and running my hands over a bountiful booty. And I also liked LEGO pirate sets. So, welcome to the video where we look at my favourite theme for BrickLink Series 8. There's only 16 submissions, so I'll be giving you my thoughts on all of them. And don't forget, you've only got until May 16th to vote for your favourites. I'll put the link for that down in the description below. We'll begin our search for treasure then here with the Imperial Guards Star Fortress. And straight off the bat, I would love to see an Imperial set making it through. And here we have a very sizable build in a pretty unique layout. I really like the sort of star shape effect. It does make me think a little bit of the Hunger Games arena in, was it the second one? There's actually been a submission for that on LEGO Ideas not that long ago, so it kind of gives me that vibe in a way. Anyway, the really cool thing about this one is the awesome playability that it inspires. Just looking at it really does evoke the feeling of wanting to have the odd pirate ship come on up and try to penetrate into the fortress and find where their treasure stores are. As proposed, it comes with a couple of little boats and a whole bunch of minifigs, as well, of course, as some animals. Can't have a pirate set without some sharks after all. As for the build itself, I like the general design layout and the colours used. There's also plenty of fun little features to it as well. So I feel that this is a really nicely designed set, particularly for those who remember playing with all the original LEGO pirate sets. This is just a really large version capturing some of the most fun and great aspects that we have with those. Now, of course, it is a very big set coming in at 4,000 pieces, so it's topping it out in terms of the limit that you can have for the BrickLink submissions. That is no bad thing in the sense of the scale that it's managing to achieve. However, I do think that it is lacking a little bit of polish. Just for example, all of the exposed studs that we have around a lot of this, that is kind of okay in a sense, because if I think back to the original smaller pirate sets that first got me into LEGO, a lot of it did look like that. However, perhaps now as an adult, what I'm looking for is not just a set that's going to be fun to play with, because this is definitely it. I think it's great in that regard, top marks. But I also want something that's going to look really good as a display piece, something that's a little bit more mature, refined, basically the whole package. And there are parts of this that do it really well. I mean, the shaping just around the edges, some of the detailing with the bits of flora and fauna that have been dotted around, that's all very nice. It's just that then other parts of it aren't so sleek. It's a bit like combining the rough with the smooth. Now, that might be great for some people, and absolutely, if you love this set, make sure to post it down in the comments below. I think it's definitely deserving of quite a few votes, but for what it's worth, I definitely feel that there is room for improvement here. Perhaps actually just scaling it back slightly, losing one of the sections or the points, something like that, in order to then have the piece count allowed, in order to, I don't know, beautify it a little bit more. Make it more complete in a few other places. That's what I would like to see. But otherwise, really good submission. Great one to kick things off with. Moving on, though, we come to the Siege of the Skull Renegades. And if you're a fan of a ship, then you're in luck, because you actually get 3 here. Not to forget a little raft and good old Brucey. A couple of them, in fact, added again, Bruce and Brucetta. Now, it'll come as no surprise that this is close to topping out the piece count, simply because of having 3 fairly big vessels. These representing the 2 different factions of Imperial troops, and of course our pirates on the Skull Renegade that we have down there. They are fairly simplistic in their brick-built design, but very satisfactorily so. I think they look good. When I say simplistic, I'm simply meaning that they're not designed to be a really polished display model. Think of the frigate Fortuna that we had picked as a winner in Series 7. That was a very different type of vessel indeed, and whilst it had playability factors, it's just something that would look really good on a shelf. These ones, definitely more like our pirate ships of old. They're evocative of that, and they are designed to have some fun with, and there is nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, I think it's actually what we're missing now at this point. You know, the endurance was great. The frigate Fortuna, that's going to be great, but having a proper playset style pirate ship, that is now what I'm looking forward to. Of course, we are going to be getting that with the return of the Black Pearl, with the new Pirates of the Caribbean coming out. But as much as I'm looking forward to that, it's still only going to partly satisfy the itch. So for those classic pirate fans among us, ships like these are certainly not going to go wanting. But as always, let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Does it row your boat or give you a sinking feeling? And of course, if you like any of the ones in this video, make sure to head on over and vote for them. I'll pop the link in the description. Moving on now, we come to the Madriguera The Madriguera. Somebody's been at the rum again. Anyway, this hideout. It's a really nice design concept and one that I feel captures a good balance between the display and play factors, and that is what I'm really looking for in a great pirate set. The general sort of scale and also the layout and colours used for this, I think, are going to fit in quite nicely with the likes of the Thieves of Tortuga set that's going to come up for sale pretty soon in Series 5. I think that's ready for crowdfunding next month. And also the likes of the Lego Ideas, Barracuda Bay. It's going to fit in pretty well with those two. Now, it's clearly going to be great for the play side of things, but just before we get to that, the other really great thing about this is that regardless of what angle we look at it, attention to detail has gone in everywhere. And that's great in a set because quite often they do only look great from maybe one or two sides, but that's not the case here. Whichever image angle I'm looking at, I like what I see. And then, of course, we come to the main details of the set, because it is not lacking there either. You know, we've got the storage attic, the secret cave where a rat is nibbling on the bones amongst the gold bars that are still there from a lost hideaway. And there's lots of little features all around hidden throughout this, which is going to really add to the enjoyability factor of coming back to it time and time again after it's actually been built. And yet the other thing I like is that although it feels like it's been crammed chocker full of different fun references and lots of different accessories, there's also room in here, plenty of room for your minifigures to act out different storylines. So I think this is really very strong. You know, I was quite disappointed again when I first went to the page and had a look at what had been put into the pirate section to see that there were only 16 submissions. It's so few, and yet there have been some really strong ones in this round. I think this is a very good set. Manages to strike a really nice balance all round. The only reason that I can't sort of sing its praises more are because there are other sets coming that we'll get to in a few minutes, which I feel take the whole play and display side of things to a completely new level. So for that reason, this isn't my favourite, but I don't want that to detract from it at all, because I think our fan designer has done a really wonderful job here. And you know, when I do these videos and I say this is my favourite, I do reserve that for just one set. So that's not to say that I would in any way be disappointed by owning this, because I wouldn't. I think it's a fantastic thing, and the fan designer should be very proud. Although perhaps choose a different title next time, because I'm far too drunk on rum to pronounce it, mate. Time to leave the landlubber sets behind though and head to the seas once more, now with the Red Knight, a really big and imposing build as far as ships go, coming in really large size-wise. I'm not sure yet how many minifigs this comes with, but 32 inches long, that can fit a lot of seamen in it. And the captain as well, of course. 3,950 pieces. So it's a very big set. Not sure that's going to play into its favour. That said, I can appreciate there is some really nice detailing that's gone into this. Plenty of room for play. It does look like a fun set in that regard. One downside I just want to point out here, not really with the set itself, more the renders. They're not the highest quality, and also putting it against the dark blue background, these look like really dark images to me. I don't think that it does it much justice. Kind of hard to see exactly what's going on here, so we could do with some lighter and better quality resolution photos. Making out what I can though, I think the exterior has been done nicely. In general, a good choice of colours, but also being able to remove the decking section here to gain access underneath that all looks like it's pretty good from a playability point of view. So overall, nice build. I don't think this is the time for it, but maybe in another series or two, just some better quality pictures next time if I may be so bold as to ask for them. Moving on, we next need to dock at Elder's Rest Island. A much smaller build here, coming in with under 1,500 pieces. That's nice to see. Not every single submission has to be really big. I appreciate the smaller ones as well. It's pretty nice looking, fairly restrained in places. Good example of my sometimes less is more examples that I give, because there is more than enough going on in what's otherwise a fairly small set, and it's all very likeable. I guess my only real problem with it is that there's nothing that sort of super stands out to me about it. You know, with a pirate set in particular, I'm after something that can tell a story, you know, just by looking at it. And I'm sure there probably is one in the description, but I want the set itself to do the talking here, and it all looks very pleasant, but it's not particularly exciting. I can't really see wanting to get in and start playing with this, or even anything that special about displaying it. So I apologise. I know that's not amazing feedback, but I have to be honest in these videos. If people do me the courtesy of watching them, then I'm going to do the courtesy of actually speaking my mind. So as far as the fan design is concerned, I think that it's a very acceptable submission. It looks nice. I can't complain about the design at all, other than the fact it personally doesn't really do anything for me. I would like something that seems a bit more exciting and building upon the world of pirate sets as a whole, and also encouraging the playability side of things too. Now though, the Libertalia Fortress. This is one that we've seen submitted before, and I can't say that I'm sorry to see it put forwards again. It's really different in its design, pretty unique actually as far as sets go. I think it's a nice choice to go with this particular colour palette. That's something that does give it a different, more sort of Mediterranean vibe, and it's one that I really adore the shaping on. The mixture of the different slopes contrasting then against the curves of the walls and where the rocks come up against it. That takes some pretty clever design work in order to achieve and make it look so seamless. You know, the whole design of this set really inspires me to think that I've been playing with the pirates and they're sailing their ships along and they suddenly come across a mysterious fortress on far off shores and they're going to try and gain access to it and plunder it. And it's that uniqueness that really helps lend to the joy and makes a set exciting to own. So I think this is really good. Now, I do believe that I commented last time that mainly down to its size, because again, it is topping out that piece count. Some of the interior is a little bit sparse in comparison to just how fantastic that exterior looks. Now, in all fairness to our fan designer, I don't know exactly what changes have been made here, but it does look like there's a little bit more going on. So in that sense, it seems even better than when it was proposed before. And of course, we also have these fun little play features too. Modularizing parts of it for easily taking this off and gaining access, that's great. And you've also got some really good choicing when it comes to the torsos and faces for our minifigures here. I definitely do still feel that it's a fair thing to say that the exterior is far superior to the interior in terms of finish, but that's always going to be the case unless you start really trying to scale this down in order to change around where you're putting the piece count, and that would probably spoil it. So I think this is now striking just about the right balance. There's still plenty of room, you know, encouraging the playability, and there are added details in here which make it look good. So all round, really refreshing design, definitely bucking the trend a bit, and I think that is to be commended. But for me, the biggest standout is just the shaping that goes on the outside. That, combined with the colour choices, makes this for a really strong submission. Next up, it's another ship, this time the Amber Wind. This one coming in with just under 2,700 pieces, so a pretty good sort of size point, I'd say. Again, around the 2,500 pieces is the average across the 5 winning builds for the BrickLink program, give or take a little bit. So good to do a submission that's aiming more for that middle ground. And there's parts of this that I think are really nice. I love how the sails have been done. They're very colourful and clever in their construction. The overall size and shaping all seems to be very much in proportion. There are a couple of Technic pieces which I don't like the look of as much in here, but then admittedly you have to use them in order to create the sails in this way, so it's a little bit of a trade-off. I think it's just the blue mainly that is a little bit off-putting to me in here, but that's only a very minor niggle. Also seems to come proposed with quite a few minifigures. Now, there's not a huge amount of room for them, but certainly enough in terms of putting them on display. I think that the play factor is a little bit more limited here, but then it's made up for in all the fun little details that are going on that's really quite quirky. So I guess my take on this is that although you definitely can play with it, I can see that, I'd say that that playability is a little more limited simply in terms of size, but that again is a trade-off that you have to make considering that this isn't going anywhere near the maximum in terms of piece count. And also what it does potentially lack in terms of free movement of minifigures and having sort of acting out a play session, it makes up in terms of all the fun little detailing and accessories that have been dotted throughout the ship. So it's a very different approach in how to put a pirate ship together. On the whole, whilst perhaps not perfect in my eyes, I would say it definitely comes down more on the side of being a really good set, and doing things a little bit outside the box are to be commended. Now, next up, I think the jokes sort of write themselves. This is Meeting on Treasure Island, which is an island apparently in the shape of a blunt sword, which is immediately what came to my mind when seeing this. Now, I have to be careful in what language I use on YouTube, so I'm a little bit circumspect As to what to say about this, it's certainly an interestingly designed model, that's for sure. It's also very big, again, 4,000 pieces. If I'm brutally honest, which I try to be, I don't really see the point behind this build. Mind you, it didn't have a point, did it? It was a blunt sword. Apparently, it can also be put into various different shapes, although I can't say that I like the look of any of them. It's just very flat and blocky and a strange choice of colour. Again, I'm rather confused over what any potential story is supposed to be. We also have a whole range of different things going on here. Pirates, wolf pack members, explorers. It's just all rather confusing. So again, I don't want to do a disservice to a fan designer, especially when they put in hard work, but I'm really struggling with this one. It looks very, very convoluted. There's a strange choice of colors and it's quite clashy, and the ship design is very weird. And then I think that this is trying to tell me that there's a certain amount of playability factor to it, but goodness knows what it is. There's just so many arrows all over the place. I just feel pretty overwhelmed looking at this. It doesn't appeal to me at all as a play set. It's the sort of thing that just gives me a bit of a headache, quite frankly. I would say let me know what you think of it in the comments, but in this particular occasion, probably safer not to. We'll move quickly on then to the Broadside Brawl, and a couple of really good little ships. This coming in at under 1,200 pieces, so right down at the smaller end of the spectrum and exactly where it needs to be. Despite that, we've got some brilliant looking brick-built sails, and the overall size and shape of the sloop and cutter I think are lovely. Just a couple of sweet little builds that are going to look good alongside many of the other sets. I mean, I think they go well in the display that I've got. Neither of them are over-engineered in any way. They're just exactly what they need to be and nothing more. And in a way, as much as I really appreciate the big ships, I actually kind of just want this. These are all that I want. They fulfill the childish want in me for sets like this that remind me of what I grew up with. So I don't know how well they'll do in voting, but I really do love these. Think they deserve the votes, and congrats to the fan designer. Next up is another one that is a bit of a treat for the eyes. This is the Coconut Cape, and a very pretty set it is too. I love the choice of colour in here. That is immediately giving me the Mediterranean vibes. And also the design of the trees here, they look great. And, you know, also credit where it's due, although this is the part that's immediately catching my attention. Also the very simple but nice shaping that's going on around the other side of it, that's all complementary. This one definitely looks pretty polished to me in the way that it's been put together. Despite that though, it hasn't neglected the play factor. I like the proposed minifigs, it's a pretty good way of doing them. Our fan designer has also taken the time to actually brick build this rather than just render it, so that is always a big positive. Looks very good there. You know, this set I think would really sit alongside the others that we've had very well, and yet it's very different too in its own design. It's got loads of charm, has a very strong identity in and of itself, but you've got a good amount of spacing on the inside too, nice detailing. I think that this is really quite charming. There's also some nice parts usage as well going on, just to add a little bit of extra greebling and make it more textured and detailed. And it's been modularized as well, so it all comes apart nicely for ease of access. Oh, what a great build. I really like this one. Less than 2,500 pieces as well. That puts it in a really strong position. You know, this is why I love the Pirates theme. It allows fan designers to come up with just bits of imagination which just immediately convey a sense of location and story from the moment you look at it, and yet at the same time, in its overall styling, really does pay homage to some of the classic pirate sets as well. So for me, this is a really great one. We then have something very different though. Breezy Beth sailing on a little scallywag. A very cartoonish yet cute diorama of, just a fun little sort of piratey ship vessel. I'm looking at it, I couldn't make out what that was at first, so I see now it's sort of a skeletal pirate with great big buck teeth holding a blade in his mouth. That's actually quite cool. I don't like the exposed studs on the rest of the sails, but I do like that little motif. That's cool. And also doing this as a diorama I think makes perfect sense, obviously, because otherwise the rest of it just wouldn't fit in with anything. So the way that the ocean has been represented here, that looks pretty nice indeed. And the shaping of the hull, that has been done well too. In fact, to be fair, all of this, considering it's quite a silly little build and it's just quirky, it has all been constructed very nicely. Now, I'll be honest, it's not for me. I think it would have a very specific sort of demographic, not the sort of thing that I would buy. I mean, if it was possible to ever get it as a GWP, I'd love it. but obviously never possible at this sort of size. But I can definitely respect that quite a few people would actually like to go for this. Oh, it's actually been built as well. Oh, is it floating? That's nice. That's a good photo. I like that. Nice touch. Yeah, it's just very sweet, isn't it? I don't really have anything more to say about it. I can't criticize it because for what it is, it's all been done very well. However, I think it would probably be fair to say that it's not what many pirate fans would want to be chosen as their next pirate set. Maybe that's the politest way of putting it. But let me know what you think of it in the comments below, because whilst it's just not for me, I fully respect it for the way it's been done. Because for so few pieces and for something so small, some of the shaping and colours and just character that this is capturing, I think is awesome. So, good bit of fun, well done. On to the final 5 now though, and this is another one that's a bit of a treasure indeed. Pirate Treasury. I feel we're being spoiled this round, you know, this is another one that's very strong and pretty unique in its identity and design work. The shaping is very cool, and I love the choice of colours. I mean that, I really, really do. The contrasting that's going on here between it all is lovely. Then it opens out, that is super. What a fantastic play feature, just being able to easily extract them like that for ease of access. I think you could have so much fun just putting this together. I mean, okay, certain parts of it, you know, these bits on the roof, a little bit repetitive perhaps, but they'd be over soon enough, and once they're done I think the finished result looks great. But overall, all the different sections that you would just be able to construct and then put together on this, that looks like a really entertaining build. You know, I love it when designs like this come along, they're so refreshing. This really is what gets me into my love of Lego again. So what, 3,400 pieces basically, it is pretty sizable again, but do you know what, there's not really any pieces out of place here. Good amount of detailing on the inside too, reasonable spacing for positioning the minifigs. This really is very vibrant and just joyful. I really like being able to come across designs like this when you're not expecting them and then you just get a smile put on your face. That's what this does for me. Puts a big grin on my face and makes me want to actually start playing with it. And I can't give something too much higher praise than that. Fantastic build. Very well done indeed. On to number 4 in our countdown. Not that there's any particular order, I'm just saving my favourite for last, that's all. But we have to give a quick mention to Anchor Cove, the Imperial shipyard. We've seen this proposed a couple of times before now. It didn't win out, which I thought was a bit of a travesty. I really felt that it was going to have its day the last time round, but sadly not. A few changes have been made to it for this iteration. Improvements again on the crane, which I thought was brilliant last time, but the amount of movement and functionality that has now been put into this is just genius design work. It really is. But look, overall, I think that this is a perfect return for the Imperials. I love all of the different functionality in this set. I said it before last time, I'll say it again now. The play that you can get from this is pretty much unmatched. So well thought out in that regard, and it looks brilliant. Also, finding and choosing these torsos to create the minifigures is just absolutely brilliant work and really needs to be commended. I've seen a few other designers sort of copying that now, and look, there's nothing wrong with that. Copying is the greatest form of flattery, apparently, but you need to call it out where you first see it, and I just think that was an absolutely brilliant choice. So I love this build. It comes in at just over the 3,000 piece mark, which is something else that I find very impressive for something that looks so substantial. But it has missed out on the prize a couple of times now. I don't know whether it will again. I'd still love to own it. However, I'm afraid it's no longer my favourite. There is one that has toppled it. So, sorry my friend, this is no longer top of my list, but have to wait until the end to see what that one is. For now though, we move on to this, the Armada Bastion. This one coming in with a not dissimilar piece count, just over the 3,000 piece mark again. It's an interesting choice of colours. I find the dots of green against the white slightly off-putting, but maybe that's just me. Let me know in the comments below, but I'm also not quite so keen on sort of the brown bricks then contrasting against the different brown of the decking and the gold in the green shutters. I'm not so keen on that, if I'm honest. I also think that the boat that we've got here could have looked better if a different colour palette had been used. I guess that's to go with trying to represent the Lion Knights on here, which, you know, I guess trying to mash it together should be commended, but isn't really for me. On the positive side of things though, plenty of fun to be had with this one. And whilst I don't like the colour palette that's been chosen, the layout is great. It can be reconfigured, and that always adds in a lot more intrigue and interest, not just when you're building, but also if you want to ever shift it around in future for displaying it differently or having you know, a play with it. Size-wise on the interior, that's not bad. A little bit sparse in places. I think it could do with a few more details in there just to add a bit of extra intrigue, but there's plenty of space to do that, and, you know, again, it's not topping it out piece count-wise, so that's always a possibility. I do think it's a fun set, well thought through in terms of its overall design. I like the general layout, the reconfiguration is great, the play looks good. I'm just not too keen on the colours chosen. Is that just me? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments. But you know, colour is a personal choice, so still congrats to the designer for the job as a whole, because I do think that that is good. Not as good, though, as my penultimate choice, the Pirate Haven. Here is one that is just absolutely jam-packed, popping with fun, colours, everything. You couldn't really ask for a more vibrant build than this. It is a biggie, 4,000 pieces, but it's another that would sort of complement the Tortuga set that we've got for Season 5 of this. And I really like the higgledy-piggledy shaping where everything's just all cluttered together, and yet it's very complementary. Again, clever choice of colours where they really do sort of clash in some ways, and yet they marry up in others cleverly around other portions of the build. So it sort of sound a bit like an interior designer there talking about what colour to paint your walls, but it does match up and complement itself. And some of the shaping is really cool. I'm just mostly impressed though by how hustling and bustling this is. It feels like we've just taken a snapshot of a busy port where everything is going on, and that is so intriguing from a play factor. It's also clearly been thought out very well by the fan designer in terms of how to access this and reconfigure it in different ways. The interior, look, this is no letdown at all, is it? Everywhere you look has decent amount of space. You can see that in proportion with the minifigs, and it is definitely not lacking on details either. What a super build this is. Oh, it's going to be really tough again. You know, when they are in this piece count, 4,000, it's up against so much tough competition, not just within the Pirates theme, because of course that's had very few submissions put forwards, but as a whole, I mean, I think there's something like 380 plus submissions for BrickLink Series 8. Lots of those are at the higher end of things, so this is going to have some really tough competition all round. But I also think that it really holds its own. There's some really magnificent storytelling that goes into this. I mean, when the way that a set is designed is done in such a way that the very bricks themselves are just speaking a story to you, that does take things to a whole new level. So this is absolutely fantastic. And you know what? It probably would have won out. It would have even taken the place of my previous favourite. However, there is one more to go, and it's one of the cleverest sets that I've ever seen. And here it is, the White Shark Imperials Prison. And yes, this is now my favourite, so you can't feel too bad about Anchor Cove no longer being in that top spot. I still love it, but you've managed to now get me with this one. And I'm going to walk you through it because this is truly a bit of a genius design. So 3,169 pieces going into this masterpiece. First and foremost, just drink it in. The overall look of this is awesome. Could you imagine having this, if you've already got Eldorado Fortress, if you then had this on your display shelf as well, I tell you, I really want it. Now, every single part of this has been very cleverly thought through and come up with an amazing new design. So you now have these cylindrical prisons, not rectangular, cylindrical versions that go in and out and operate on a pulley system. And this way of using ropes to be able to open and close the doors after you've put these in and out I don't think it's ever been done before. I've never seen it before, and I think that it is such an incredibly unique and genius way of doing it. This could be used in many other sets, not just within Pirates theme, but this is a design that Lego could use that would make some sets so much better. and it deserves to be done in this one here. As for the actual shaping, if we just look at the way that this is coming up out of the rocks down here, that is beautiful, and the whole set is so dynamic. The way that the crane has been designed to lift up and lower down and of course swing around the prisoners in their cells to put them in and out, doing that in this way with so few pieces, that is also a brand new design and incredibly clever. I can only imagine how satisfying that would be to play with. I would literally be just messing around with it for hours. It is genius. There is so much attention to detail that has gone into every single part of this set. You know, with most of these, they can look great overall, but when you break it down, they maybe have one or two parts to them. And I'm talking about sets in general here, not just the other ones that we've been looking at in this video on pirate sets, just all of them through BrickLink, Lego Ideas, even official Lego sets. They have maybe one or two key features that can be really good. But then I'm looking at this and just every single flaw and aspect of it has some different type of interactive playability to it, is packed full of loads of fun features and references to pirate sets of old, and I am overwhelmed, but in a good way, because just you can spend such a long period of time looking at this set and keep finding new things. And this is why it's my new favorite, because what more can you ask for? As a piece to put on display, it is epic, so polished, cleverly designed, the techniques used are ingenious, it is masterful in that regard. You then look at it from its sheer playability, and here is something that you could revisit time and time again for just simply hours of fun. And no, you don't have to be a kid to play with a set like this, because I tell you what, I don't care that it was decades ago that I got into playing with the initial little classic pirate sets. I would absolutely be playing with this. It is just a pirate fan's dream, I think, and what an incredible return for the Imperials this would make. So you couple that displayability and playability in with what is just some absolutely ingenious design work. I feel that this takes dedication to doing mocks just to a whole new level when we're getting fan designers who put in the sheer determination and level of creativity that it takes to come out with something like this. You know, Lego really needs to take notice, actually, because I'm not going to give their designers a hard time. Some sets that they bring out I still find really exciting and innovative, and there is greatness there, but a sad amount of the time now, there is stuff that really is below par. So their official designers and Lego as a company need to sit up and pay attention when the fan community is producing something of this level of quality, because it is simply outstanding. I don't mind telling you now, it will be in my winners prediction video, and in fact, I'll put a spoiler in. It's going to be in my top 5. It's not even just going to be featured in the video, it will be in my top 5 finalists that I'm going to call as a winner, because if they don't pick this, given how brilliant it is at everything, then I really would question the entire integrity of the designer program. This is going to get a lot of votes, it would get a lot of sales. There's a load of other criteria that they look at too, which I feel that this ticks the box of. Everything that I know of, this ticks the boxes of. So let me know what you think of it in the comments below. It truly is one of the best and most clever designs that I've ever seen. But with that, it brings us to the end of the video, so thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe. I'm featuring all the other themes throughout this week, and of course make sure to head on over to BrickLink and vote for your favourites. Thanks for watching, TTFN.